Harsha, welcome to the ABAIA podcast. This is a community initiative. Idea is that uh, how can we empower the entrepreneurs, the different stakeholders within the AI ecosystem. We are very proud to say that today in our ecosystem there are some 80 plus startups and very uh, exciting, enterprising individuals like yourself who are working in very varied fields. Some are doing something in pharma, something in media, manufacture, uh, and like even your profile. You shared me your profile last week, and I was just seeing the sheer depth of work. So, for our audience who don't know much about you, could you very quickly just introduce yourself? Who are you, and what you've been up to in the last few years?
Sure. Firstly, thanks a lot for this initiative. I must say the community, this is one of the very vibrant communities out there, to be frank. I learn a lot every day with the content that's been put in the group and also the amount of conversation that happens. Right now, coming to myself, I've been in the product management space for about a decade, built B2B, B2C products, leveraging AI, non-AI, and regular products as well. So I've been lucky enough to build some generative AI products, let's say 2 years back itself, when they got in, ChatGPT got released, we were already using the tools available to build multiple AI products as such. One of them being a news conversational experience for news consumption. The other was more of a subtitle automation and all of this. But parallelly, at a personal level, also I've started building products by myself. I was not a developer as such, but with the tools that are available right now, I've been able to build my own products, whatever I want to do, and all of that. So that's a huge unlock of value in itself. So I uh, evangelize something called as full stack professionals and full stack product management, which is you as a professional are no longer expected to just, let's say for product managers, not just write user stories, or for category managers, not just look at P&L, but you should be able to understand the end-to-end value chain and be able to build things faster, ship it, and create value rather than just dependent on someone. So currently I'm doing this evangelization and trying to see what could be a
Okay.
better application of AI.
So, Harsha, how do you think the role of a project manager has changed in the recent years, especially with this AI boom?
I would say product managers or project managers, both the roles, have always been project managers are predominantly orchestrators of ensuring that every part of a gear is or different gears are moving in tandem and ensuring that the outcome is delivered. Project product managers were focused majorly on the customer outcomes or the user facing aspect of it and ensuring that the problem is solved using tech as such is the thing, right? The key change now is earlier you have always been dependent on your tech counterparts to come up with solution, come up with implementation, and then there was a gap between what is your idea versus what's the reality in the world. So you would have seen that meme which says the initial requirement from the client was a KTM bike, but what you actually get is a Luna with which is colored in KTM's color, right? So those analogies, though there is a pun intended in it for sure, but the point is there is some reality to it. What you envision versus what you get out there could be much different, and that leads to a lot of issues or business outcomes not being delivered and all of this coming into play. And with the tools that are available today, you no longer are dependent on the tech team to at least create an initial prototype, which reduces the Chinese whisper that happens between what you have in mind versus what they understand. That lead time being shrunk drastically. Obviously, the tech team is still needed to help you out with making it scalable, flexible, ensure the latencies are not there, ensure you're handling loads and all of that. They are far better equipped to do it, but still you can do your side of things to communicate things well to the team and ensure that whatever you have in mind is translated or communicated to them well. So it's like a universal translator.
Yeah.
Gen AI or the AI tools that are there are helping you to translate better is what I would say, and that's how the roles are also evolving.
Yeah. Uh, Definitely, what you mentioned about at least having some kind of a first draft ready before sending it to the team. Do you think in the future, because I always keep thinking at its extent, at its very extent, how many departments will we have eventually? Are we going to see merging of a lot of departments? For example, does IT become the next IT and HR, IT and marketing, IT and I don't know sales? Does everything becomes AI powered? So there is just maybe 3 to 4 core departments. Rest everything is automated. What do you think?
Uh, Reaching to a state of automation full-fledgedly, I'm not fully sure how quickly would we achieve it, but it's not an impossible scenario as well. However, the way of looking at any department as such will now be more ROI focused, is what I would say. As in, what is the outcome or business value, be it in terms of more revenue being brought in, slash more cost reduction being empowered or enabled, is what would be measured for across the functions, irrespective of which function you would be part of. So in that function, how are you enabling the end-to-end value chain of that function becomes a key aspect, is one initial or intermediary step for sure. But coming to a stage where there are few people who are just focusing on one key problem each and solving that, would be the case also. Only thing is, you would still need people to, or people or agents or whatever you intend to call them as, being made available. Or okay, it's not, maybe I'll articulate it this way, right? It's not just upskilling that's going to come up. You need upsysteming as well, which is your entire ecosystem of the ERP systems or the traditional CRMs and all. The way they are right now might not work out in the future. So you need to transform that to reach that stage. Till then, whatever the ways of working are there, have to will evolve step by step. It won't be a overnight success,
Okay.
so, or overnight change as such. So change will take some time, but yes, the direction is, if you would have more ROI-led functions, not something which is horizontal. We will just build capability. That can't be. That won't be a scenario per se. At least that's my perspective.
You mentioned something very interesting. So you said two things predominantly. You said one, it's going to be a very ROI driven approach. It's not just, oh, because there are capabilities we are just going to implement it. If it makes sense on the bottom line, तो अगर ROI है तो implementation भी we can fasten up the implementation, but it is also a up-systeming process. It's not just upskilling. So when you say up-systeming, are you meaning, is this up-systeming being more hardware-centric or software-centric?
So, frankly, you would need hardware also to be upsystemed as such. But from a user standpoint, right? Like a person like you and I who would go to an office and use our laptops, there's nothing that's going to change in these laptops as such drastically. You are not expected to use run local LLMs in your system. Not everyone is expected, at least. There are a few people who would do it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But the upsysteming is more on a ways of working or the systems itself, right? What I mean by that is, today, when you are, let's say, a product manager, or you are a customer support executive or a salesperson, any of these roles, you have a CRM which gives you some data. You have some other system in which you fetch out what is the financial transaction which has happened. You have some other system slash person dependency to get the vendor details if there are any vendors being onboarded and all of that happening. Or from a product manager standpoint, he or she is creating a PRD document. There's a Google sheet in which the requirements coming from the business team is being collated into, that's being translated into a Jira or a ClickUp or some other platform. All of this happening, right? But there are inefficiencies because of these many systems that are existing in the first place. So we've been in an era where there were point solutions being created as SaaS solutions, and there was no exact integration between these systems also happening. Now you would ideally need what, okay, I call this as a digital soul, but basically, very simply put, it is a living document about your companies and your offerings and what is happening with your business in general. Basically, consider a very big large data lake lying somewhere, but you being able to retrieve things basis your needs per se, that being made available with all the guardrails of the company itself being put in over there, ensures that your team is 10x faster. Most of the time, the biggest challenge is knowing what is available in the feature list, or what is happening in this particular project, or what is the status of a particular client. So knowing these itself will help you a lot. right? So that upsysteming activity is will become essential with the proper guardrails being thought of as well. It shouldn't so happen that you are creating an image on ChatGPT and making it as a maybe a logo of your new product that you are trying to launch, and that unnecessarily getting flake from someone else, right?
Yeah.
So those things have to be thought of, is what I meant by upsysteming. So it's just not just you using AI tools, it is the ways of working being transformed and having right systems to ensure that the ways of working are transformed.
But on an enterprise level, do you feel that, because this is something that I have started noticing around companies like the big ones, the heritage companies, they are a little on the back foot, sheerly from a GDPR perspective or privacy perspective, right? That this is proprietary data. If I'm to use a general LLM, uh, data is essentially leaked. So do you feel that? Okay. Also, I also read that Canada is now discouraging their people to use ChatGPT because Canadian data is going to US, and we never know how that data will be manipulated. So do you see? I have a hypothesis that going forward, every country might have their own closed sourced LLM. Every enterprise within the country would have a subset of it. Is there any merit to this thought?
So it's not okay. Whatever I'm about to articulate is not my own intelligence or thought process.
Okay.
This is something that I've heard in a podcast or a discussion between someone I regularly follow called as Peter Diamandis and Imad Mustaq, who is the founder of Stability AI. Or ex-founder, or he's left and he started something on his own now. But what they say is they call something as sovereign AI, which is every country creating their own version of a generative AI system or an AI system in general, which handles the nuances of that particular country. So what I mean by that is today in India, if you ask, or the number of languages that we speak is far higher than most of the countries that are there in the world, or the cultural nuances that we have at geographical level also. Someone might call Hanumanji as Balaji in Rajasthan, while in South he or she Hanuman is called as Lord Hanuman, ya Hanumantudu, and all of this coming into play. Right. The point is those nuances don't get captured that easily in the existing systems. So to ensure that your legacy is carried as forward, or you have your own version of truth as also becomes essential, and that's where the merit of creating your own AI models as such come into play. But is there for the businesses, when we come to the business side of the world, do we need to create your own LLMs? I would say it might not make much business sense from that perspective, because you investing a lot of effort and amount of money in building them might not work out, because there are many open source models that are already available. You can do a proper dissection of it and figure out whether there are any security challenges that you're anticipating on it, or any issues that you can or any nuances that you ideally want to be part of it not being part of it, could be checked out and take them and use them on your own servers to ensure that the data is not going out. To you can fine tune it over time to ensure that the responses that you get are in line with what you have. But starting it from scratch and trying to build on yourself on day one might not
Yeah.
be a right thing if you're not an AI company, but you are an applied AI company, or you are
Yeah.
more on using AI to solve problems, sort of a use case. That's what I would suggest.
So, but in terms of like, because you're somebody who's worked for like a legacy brand, you've worked for Z. What are the conversations around AI in such companies?
I would say the teams are super excited about AI and its potential. There's no two ways about it. Everyone understands the potential that such tools can bring in.
Yeah.
However, the challenges, especially in media, the one of the biggest challenge is the IP not getting violated. When you create content, your whole thing is an IP. Marvel's movies is an IP.
Yeah.
Similarly, for any of our Indian content that's being created is also an intellectual property that's being created out there, right? So that not being violated is a huge concern, or a aspect that needs to be taken into account. and that being captured through the contracts with, let's say, Microsofts of the world or the Googles of the world, who offer these services directly, uh, uh, kind of helps out a lot in getting that confidence that, okay, my data won't uh, be used wrongly and all of that. So that is more or less there in place, and I don't think that's a huge hindrance of sorts. However, the ROI justification becomes a slightly difficult thing, especially when we were trying it out maybe 1.5, 2 years back. The cost per token was far higher than what it is today.
Yeah.
The If you look at the numbers, I think it dropped by some 50 to 100 times in the last 2 years or 2.5 years. So that is there. So thing is, the businesses are very keen on using these tools, but more of a solution or application perspective, as long as the ROI can be justified.
But do you see, like, specifically because you mentioned media and Gen AI
Mhm.
has been, I think the last 2 years has been Gen AI's 2 years. I was going through the GTC NVIDIA conference where Jensen said that physical AI is the next frontier, where integrating the software and the hardware is the next big push. So, do you think that the last 2 years was a lot more media centric, surely from a Gen AI perspective, because it was Gen AI?
Uh, no, I wouldn't say it was media centric, though people were using it for their content management, content creation, be it LinkedIn blogs or YouTube video scripts and all of them being created. Uh, People have used it for many use cases, like Harvey was one of such use cases in the US where contracts were being created by AI. Similarly, there are startups which are helping out for the PRDs to be created by AI, test scripts being created by AI. So, or even Cursor, for example, is a huge example which has reached 100 million
Yeah.
ARR much faster than any other startup in the world. So, I wouldn't say it is just media specific, though the implications on the media world was far higher because of the uh, negative aspects that might come in because of Gen AI. Because if you are cloning someone's voice without their permission, or how wrongly can you use someone's voice who is a person of influence, that has a far more repercussion than, let's say, a PRD wrongly being generated. So both of them are far drastically different, right? So that's why the focus was there. I wouldn't deny that at all, but it was being used for many other use cases other than just it being a media use case.
Yeah, yeah. Because in terms of media, because I personally work in media, so the changes are evident. Now you can't deny it. It's to that point, right? And especially from a designing perspective, there are such great designing tools out there. You mentioned Cursor, so I was just going through Cursor last week, and there's this thing called vibe coding. You've heard about it?
Yeah,
Vibe coding. So do you think a lot of, because now the coding aspect of it is being taken out almost, and with something like a cursor, there's a conversational, like a senior expert of sorts who can help you generate the code. Okay, you can't generate the code on cursor, but you can edit the code. A
you can
Claude.
generate also.
Oh,
It
you can
helps
generate
in
also.
creating.
Okay, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've got a system which generates the code and also fixes the bug in real time.
Correct.
Now, me being a highly non-technical person but with the right idea can go ahead and make an app.
Absolutely.
So I see a lot of now, a lot of bad apps coming out. More like the more cursor becomes relevant. Like it was like when ChatGPT or this image generation thing came out, you've got hundreds and hundreds of photos. So many of them are good, bad, ugly, and between that range. So now
Correct.
I'm hypothesizing that now we're gonna see so many apps, like हर चीज का app हो जाएगा, and then वो
Correct.
wave भी नीचे आ जाएगा. And but there will be people who will make money in this wave, and then
Exactly.
whatever the next big thing in AI would be.
Correct. So the thing is, it helps unlocking a lot of things, but the point to note is the moot is not in building the tech or building the product itself.
Yeah.
The moot is having either the distribution or a unique insight that would help you out in a specific domain or an area. Because you can't let's okay today, if I even if I want to create a chat gpt, I can go ahead and create a very similar user experience. Everything can be done in a matter of days, if not months, per se, right? The point, however, the underlying models, I can even use an open source one and get it through. But will people come and use my product versus using ChatGPT? Obviously not, because ChatGPT has the brand value, or Claude has a brand value, and all of that. There's a trust aspect that comes into play, right? That's the power of distribution that these companies have able to build out as such. So that's something that would be there. How I would give a small analogy. It would be very similar to how when web or internet became a huge such, there were people who were creating blogs continuously, or they have their own websites and all of that. No one frankly goes into those websites any longer. Yeah, there are only some minimal number of percentage of sites that are even active today, right? The point is something very similar will happen here, wherein you will have thousands of applications being built out. Some of them will convert into huge businesses or huge value unlocks as such. So, most of them might not turn into anything. The other thing to note is it's very easy to build things today, but it's very difficult to maintain them.
Okay.
So being able to maintain and ensure that it is actually giving value continuously needs far higher effort than the 0 to 1 journey. So earlier, the 0 to 1 journey was difficult. I won't deny it. It's difficult even now. I'm not saying that it is easy. Today you have an idea, tomorrow you have 10,000 crores being deposited into account. That's not the case at all. But still, you now have a prototype being created faster to showcase to the world. But would you be able to create a sustainable business out of it? Not necessarily. That needs a far different skill and persistence than just building a product out. So that's how I would put it.
So, in today's world, in the world of, or in the age of AI, distribution is a bigger challenge than the prototype creating itself. Prototype creation has almost become like a day's work, 2 days work with the right tools.
Correct.
But yes,
Correct.
finding the right distribution for it is a challenge.
Absolutely. Not just distribution. The other aspect that to note is, I would say, the right attention being grabbed. So you need not have distribution like how a Google has. It has access to, let's say, billions of people. You need not have that. But knowing where to find the right attention, or how to capture the right attention of the people, becomes the biggest challenge. So you need to be able to curate or ensure that you are part of a curation platform, or somewhere where your name comes up at the top.
But also, the sheer pace at which things are changing, even in terms of tech and AI tech, uh, there is a there is a sense that what I'm building right now might be irrelevant in a month, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know what next is, who's building in a US or a China, or I don't know, even with Mistral AI, even Europe is catching up in the AI game. So we really don't know where that next innovation is going to come up, and my entire business is just not making any sense right now. There's that, because I feel that is a concern that a lot of AI entrepreneurs are having in the field.
Uh, True. The thing is, see, right now what is happening is the chat GPTs or of the world have the foundation already created.
Yeah.
They have that underlying thing. Now for them, it's either going down or the up. By down, as in the infrastructure layer, creating their own chips, creating their own data centers, and all of that is one side of the puzzle. The other side of the puzzle is going upward towards the application workflows and all of that. So right now they have not become very vertical focused application layers yet. So till the time they don't come into a specific vertical in which you have created or captured the end-to-end workflow, you are safe. But that would take them also some amount of time. So that seems the only way of looking at it, rather than creating a horizontal platform.
As a
Basically
country,
capturing workflows.
capturing workflows. Okay. Uh, what do you think is an opportunity here for entrepreneurs wanting to get in the field?
Uh, three buckets is how I would divide it into.
Hmm.
One is AI implementation services itself, slash consulting, whatever you want to call that as, which is businesses wanting to do it, not
Yeah.
necessarily have the full-fledged know-how or bandwidth to do it,
Yeah.
help them out. That's a huge area. So don't consider it as a time and money thing, and I won't be doing it. So I wouldn't say uh, uh, to leave that opportunity just because it seems like a consulting gig sort of a thing, right?
Hmm.
That's one. The second area is what we just discussed, which is if you are focused or you have deep domain expertise of a particular space, better jump onto it and you can create a platform which captures the workflows for that space as such.
Hmm.
Third area is I genuinely think there is a huge potential from a consumer standpoint, and as long as you have decent runway or pockets per se, is on the front of companionship slash engagement or how wellness, if I may call it that way, which is all things guidance. Right now, ChatGPT is there; it will be able to help you out with many things. But if you're able to create a community plus AI incorporated into that community itself, that would be a huge opportunity because loneliness is becoming a pandemic or epidemic
Hmm.
right now is what
Hmm.
everyone is claiming. I'm not
Hmm.
exactly sure of the stats on that, but point is the aspect of you being able to get guidance from AI plus people who from their experiences themselves will be a huge value add, and that could be as niche as it could get as well over time. So that you might not become a $1 billion company with this
Yeah.
these things, but
Hmm.
you can create a sustainable business out of it.
So AI as a companion.
Companion, but with the community being there for sure. The
Oh.
point is you need to you it's not just AI that is going to add value, it's the people that will make that entire belongingness being brought into or
Hmm.
help being extended or so on and so forth is what I would say as a
Okay.
key
Ah.
thing to look at.
Interesting, interesting. Because I know a couple of guys personally who are working on this AI companionship model. They're building a use case, a business use case for it. Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Harsha, what are you doing personally in the space? Like right now, what's up? What's the latest you've been working on?
So I first two major areas. One is how do you relook at user experience in the age of AI.
Hmm.
So today, if you look at ChatGPT or Claude or any, most of them have an experience which is more chat driven,
Hmm.
right? Which is text in, text out to a great extent. Now ChatGPT has become multimodal with
Yeah.
the new 4.0 coming out
Nice.
with beautiful images and infographics coming in it, or canvas or artifacts being brought out by Claude.
Yeah.
But for businesses, for their websites or for their platforms, can we reimagine how the experience should be instead of it being the browsing by separately lying somewhere and the chat experience lying on the side as a small pop-up thing? Can we have both of them clubbed together? So you ask a question, you still have that exploration option,
Yeah.
or the curve does exist.
Yeah.
It's just that when you have a question, you just type it out. It will give you a response from my database of offerings to you in different rails, different positions with videos, explanations, whatever you want to have. And so basically, you don't have the concept of a landing page, a PDP, a checkout page, and all of that. Eliminate everything. It's just one page in which you have all things being brought into contextually as per the user's needs.
Okay. Okay. So
So
it's like a unified platform, one page where which has access to these different, I would say, pages.
components of
Oh.
exactly
Hmm.
components and are getting rendered as different components in
Hmm.
itself, or how you would see on Amazon and all. You have different rails, right? Let's say you click on buy, it automatically generates or showcases you a payment box below it itself rather than taking you out to a
Yeah.
separate page.
Yeah.
So but you still have a chat option within it.
Hmm.
That's one experience that we've
Okay.
built or are working on and trying to see if that
Ah.
gets traction.
Nice.
The second thing is uh, the whole product building life cycle itself being relooked at, which is you have the likes of Lovable and Bolt, but
Hmm.
they are for someone who is trying to build a new product from just an idea. But
Hmm.
most of the companies already have their set processes. They have their own products that are there in the world and all. So we are working on something we call as reverse PRD and product idea to production cycle of sorts. Reverse PRD basically is nothing but we generate the requirement or product specification documents from the code itself rather than it being written by someone, so that you know what is the as is system from the source of truth. And the other part is use this to help you come up with requirements for any new feature that you have, with all the context about what is currently implemented, instead of you having to figure out what is there today and what's not there today. So these are the two major areas that we are working on.
Mm-hmm. Wow, man. And I'm assuming Bangalore is the right place to be. Do you think Bangalore is the right place to be for the AI stuff? What's the India AI capital?
uh, I think for now, I think it seems Bangalore has a lot more events than any other place.
Yeah.
From a learning standpoint or the ecosystem standpoint, I think yes. But at a global level, I don't think anyone can beat what, uh, let's say, the San Francisco or the Bay Area such
Yeah.
as doing.
What do you think about this rise of data centers? I think we've spoken about a lot of things, and just what do you see from a trend perspective? What are these? What is going to be the what are going to be the biggest trends of 2025?
Uh, I would say uh, three things. Data centers might not be part of it, but yeah. First thing is a lot more apps, the way you were mentioning, right? Getting populated and flooded in the market.
Yeah.
Everyone comes up with their own application, and everyone is trying a side hustle of sorts per
Yeah.
se. The second thing is there would be a lot of uh, opportunity, or the opportunity in terms of orchestrating the different models that are there, rather than building the models. The focus would now be what people are calling as agents, or
Yeah.
basically making AI to get things done.
Yeah.
You can call them agents or anything. Academically, it could be defined as any way that one would want to.
Yeah.
Very simply put, you have some intelligent system which is getting things executed or done. Implementing such systems would be would become a huge thing. Last but not the least, I would say uh, there would be a lot of FOMO among everyone, or that inherent thing of what will happen to me or my startup or my company in general because of what is happening in the world, becoming more rampant as we move forward, especially with the unpredictability of the way you can build things faster, cheaper, and all. So predictability becomes much difficult as such.
Lovely, man, lovely. Uh, uh, yeah, I think yeah, I'm more or less at the end of it, Harsha. We've quickly had when we spoke about what are the trends, what are you doing, and in general what's happening in the space. What do you feel from a community perspective? Now I'll be a little more centric towards our community. Uh, we've been growing. We've been doing a lot of community engagement activities. Our podcast is one of those activities. Where do you feel as a community we should be really focusing on? And especially, I ask this to you because you have also have exposure to the Bangalore ecosystem. So, what do you think as a community? Where are the I would say bottlenecks, perhaps, or just improvement points? What are we doing right? What should we be doing to be more prominent?
Uh, Again, maybe three things that come to mind.
Yeah.
First, product showcases, those help a lot.
Yeah.
At least the awareness of what is available within the company,
Yeah.
not as brochures or flyers or whatever
Yeah.
it is, but as actual demos being given.
So, Harsha, we've spoken about a lot of things, and just wanted to ask you from a community perspective, right? We're an AI community, and we know the space is so young. There are not a lot of people in the space, right? There are only early adopters and entrepreneurs. Most of them are just, I would say, bystanders in whatever is happening. There are very few people who are actually in the ecosystem doing something actively, like yourself. My question is, from an ecosystem perspective, what are these things that we can do to grow the ecosystem?
Hmm. Mm, Sure. I would say three things maybe. One is uh, showcase of the products itself, which is more to do with what's being built out, a demo day of sorts, or what's that you have in mind, and showcase your product to me of sorts. That's one way of exchange of ideas, exchange of knowing what is the art of possible access. That's one. The second key thing is more to do with workshop slash trainings slash conferences or webinars or whatever we want to call it as, which is for everyone who wants to join per se, right? Last but not the least, the um, expanding or collaboration across communities itself, irrespective of the city, could be one way of looking at it, because there are beautiful communities across cities that are
Yeah.
popping up currently.
Yeah.
So having a united front or an association with most of them could help out, irrespective of which space that one is working on, so that it becomes a unified upliftment for everyone, rather than it being an isolated community which exists
Yeah.
in Bangalore but
Yeah.
doesn't have any visibility of what's happening in the
Yeah.
other side of the world or other city in the country itself. So that shouldn't be that. If I think these three could be a good starting points or segues into improving the ecosystem in general.
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning anything beyond, let's say, saying that the government has to do this and all, because that's a separate ball game altogether. This is something that is in our control, or
Yeah.
something that we could contribute as individuals.
Uh-huh. Because you brought up government, okay? What do you think?
Okay.
No, no, I have a follow-up
Now
question.
I regret it.
Uh, who has the onus of taking AI forward? Is this a government first approach or is it a private sector first approach?
Mm, okay. Uh, I genuinely don't have an answer as such. I just have a perspective on it, which
Yeah.
is uh, it has to be okay. As it's a very diplomatic answer saying that it has to be both, but the point is the framework uh, ideally should be more people oriented, which will come from the government per se,
Mm.
which is the impact of it, how long term I should think of, what would be the impact on the job, on the economy, so on and so forth, being thought of, and accordingly formulating the frameworks, accordingly formulating the taxations around tomorrow. If you have AI workers, what would be the taxation on them? All
Mm.
of that being considered is what the government would contribute to and help on per se. However, from an innovation standpoint, government can set the guardrails or the guidance being provided, or help or infrastructure being provided, but the actual innovation could be done by private individuals or private companies themselves.
Got it.
That's
Got
how
it.
I would put
Okay.
in.
Hmm. Like in US, it has been a very private first approach. Whereas I think China, it has been very government first approach. Or do you think what can we learn from these economies?
I would say China was also more or less private
Mm.
till DeepSeek became a national priority, or so.
Mm.
And now their employees are, at least the news I've read, they are not. They are considered to be persons of importance or so,
Mm.
and shouldn't leave the country and all of that, right?
Okay.
So the innovation came from be it the US or the China, but from the private sectors. But the impact of it on people needs to be looked at by the government itself. I don't think
Mm.
private organizations or individuals would look at the local optima or what is good for
Mm.
the company and their customers. It's not to say that they are evil, that they are not looking for the good of the customers. Obviously, all things are being
Yeah.
done to simplify the lives of people itself.
Yeah.
But how do you look at it at a larger scale? Maybe that perspective being brought in could come from government is what I would think of. But I might be a very wrong person to comment also. So I not follow much of a thing. So yeah, this is just my perspective.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it. Got it. Got it. Cool. Harsha, thank you so much for your time here.
thanks a
You've
lot
been
for the
very
opportunity.
generous with your time. You've given us some very interesting perspectives because a couple of pointers which you said have really stuck in that it's not upskilling. It's not just upskilling. It's up systeming as well. The sovereign AI bit. I was not knowing about this. I had a understanding of it. I didn't have a term for it. But yeah,
Okay.
sovereign AI now does make a lot of sense. Uh, I feel this on a parting note, what you said about cross city collaborations, because definitely initiatives are happening across the country.
Correct.
What what I see in Pune a lot, in terms of our community particularly, I feel there have been a lot of conversations, and it's a relatively vibrant community. Podcasts, we are
True.
doing podcasts every week. I'm like, from a perspective of media, we are talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. There are a lot of discussions which happen, which is great. People are throwing in their opinions. They are throwing in, okay, this is what happened, what do you think? There are some disagreements, which is lovely for the space. I think communication will just help everybody. And I would love to, at some point with you, now that you're in Bangalore, understand what can we do on a city to city perspective. Like, can the community of Bangalore and the Pune community come in together to do something on the AI front? That would be great. Could be an expo of some sorts, an exhibition.
Correct.
Would love to explore that with you.
Lovely. Yes, feel more than happy to do it. Yes.
Cool. Okay then. Asha, thank you so much for your time here.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And
Thanks
looking
a lot.
forward
Thanks a lot,
to
Sachin.
all the things you'll be doing in 2025.
Thanks a lot. Likewise.
Cool, man. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye.